Hello, people. My name is Kosnati Njeje. I'm in the aviation sector, engineering and flying. I'll be brief because I just decided now to stand up. What I would like to advise or ask from EFF is we're losing a lot of skills to overseas countries when it comes to aviation. We train, and it's costly to train the skills. Maybe we find that it's 500,000 to train, and then the Arabs come and take the engineers and pilots. So we need to focus on that to retain the skill. And it's also very, very bad to find a pilot in Europe earning 3 times compared to South African, and of which we do fix or fly their aircraft, or they do fly to our space. And then we're also taking care of those aircraft maintenance-wise, and our pilots are also qualified internationally. So I would like you to look at that. As I said, I'm going to be brief because I didn't plan accordingly. Thank you.
So, was I ambushed? What we will do now is to take core mess. Hopefully, they will not feel less anything, together with law. Law and order. And therefore, these will be 10 hands. But don't raise your hand yet. I've got we'll do 5-5 and see how we are doing. So let's start first with these commercial people, banks and so on and forth, accountants. I've got here Nkululeko Tetwayo and Kaya Stoll. And then there's somebody here who should have, I don't know, but a medical insurance broker yeah, let's go. Mapiko Koma. Please, those people raise their hands. What? Nkululeko Tetwayo? Gone. All right. So the other one is Kaya Stoll. Where? Sorry. No way. No way. Kaya, you're an accountant. In our conference, TP. Okay, you're going to be number 1, and then Gitela Mapiko Koma. You'll be number 2. I'm taking those people of commerce. Yeah, so you'll be number 3, number 4. TP, what do I do? So where's number 3? Number 3, let's do that. Number 4, OP. Yeah, you take your hand down when you've got a number. So you are number 4. Let me see how I manage this. I'm passing because you had your hand number 5. Not okay. Number 6. Yeah. Let us see how these 6 people do. Then if they've not covered you, you will raise your hand. How's that sound? Excellent. So, Kaya, address us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And good evening. I am an accountant. I don't know what you thought I was. So just one key comment from me. I think one of the more important observations over the past 10 to 15 years is what we refer to as the displacement of the state as a central player in the economy. And the displacement has happened quite subtly, and that a lot of people have not observed it. But one key manifestation of it is how the state has become quite reliant on third-party and external service providers to deliver core services. And the fundamental problem of that is that obviously what it does is that, I think one of my colleagues mentioned it earlier on, is that you are essentially seeing a more incapable state developing. And why that's particularly problematic is that a development state cannot afford to have the internal capacity to run its own developmental mandate. And I think that is South Africa's fundamental problem, the displacement of the state. What we're also seeing is that when the state does get displaced, what you then do is you open an opportunity for third-party and private sector players to capitalize in the resources and the services that the state should be delivering on its own. Now, the problem with that is that because so many people do not have the capacity or the economic opportunities to participate in those private sector initiatives, you actually end up with a society that is excluded from many things that they should be participating in. So whether you're looking at the prevalence of the private security industry, which is a reflection of the state's incapacity to secure its own citizens, whether you're looking at the prevalence of private schools or private universities, which is a response to the state's own incapacity to run those affairs, you do actually have a crisis, because in the long run, it would simply mean that there's a much smaller fraction of citizens that can actually participate in those developmental endeavors, whether it's education, whether it's health and security, and that's a fundamental issue. The secondary point that I was hoping would be a big part of this conversation is that when you try to craft a manifesto and you talk about the local government and national government and all of those, it's become very clear that one of the big deliberation points should be the simple question of whether the state in its current configuration is appropriate when you look at the skill set that exists in the state. So one of the key problems that we have every single year is that South Africa has decided that it wants to have 257 different municipalities across the system. What South Africa doesn't want to acknowledge is that it doesn't have 257 fully capacitated municipalities. Why that is a problem is that for citizens who are not in this room, their primary interaction with the state happens at the primary level. It happens at a clinic rather than a tertiary hospital. It happens at a school rather than a university. So if you do not build the capacity at the grassroots level, at the primary interaction point, it simply means that citizens actually do not get to participate in what the state should be doing in order to develop them. And I think that is the one thing that we're hoping that if there's going to be a change or a reorientation in government, that is something that must be tackled. I think the closest you came to it is when you championed the insourcing that we saw after 2016 in Johannesburg. And what we were hoping was that that was going to be the way things are done, but it hasn't actually become a universal charge to say that the state cannot afford to outsource its core functions. The state that is developmental in nature cannot afford to rely on third-party private sector providers in order to create capacity, because we now know, as it was said earlier on quite articulately, is that consultants walk in on day one, they leave the day after, and the next day you need them because it was never their responsibility to build state capacity, and that is what elected politicians are supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Kaya, we can move to Parliament from the newsroom together. Let's go to Parliament. I mean, newsroom is not working, yeah? DP. Not the company, the actual site of news. Number 2, please stand. I remember you to be somewhere here. Yes. Mike, please.
Good evening. My name is Mapeku Koma. I'm a financial advisor in the medical aid industry.
The mic is not audible.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. I'm a financial advisor and I work in the medical aid industry. Municipalities are my biggest clients. I was listening to...
You do have a name, though.
My name?
Yes.
Mapeku.
Mapeku.
Mapeku Koma. Okay. I would like to just highlight more on the insurance sector. I think a lot of us as black people, we buy insurance, but the money goes elsewhere. Financial sector is still so largely with the whites, right? And we don't feature at all. What I would like EFF to transform, it's to focus on that sector and give us opportunities. My fears over the years is seeing how the FSCA has changed the regulation to make it almost impossible for a black person to have a license to become a financial advisor. We, in the medical aid industry, in short-term insurance, we will always compete with the likes of Alexander Forbes. And these are brokers that are mainly in the mines, they are in the municipalities, and ke rona re nang le medical aid, ke rona re nang le di funeral cover, but they are the people that are earning and making big money. So all I'm asking is that when you are structuring your manifesto and you would like to see transformation, do not turn a blind eye on the insurance industry. It's huge, but it's for them, not us. Thank you.
So we go to number 3, this side somewhere. Number 3. When it's your turn to speak, do stand, and then the mic will come to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Dan Forobode. Yeah, you know, I was involved in finance, in healthcare administration. I'm an attorney, etc., etc. So I've covered quite a few areas in my life. And standing here, it feels like 20, 30 years ago, you know, we used to have meetings like this, and people used to say the same thing that is being said here today. And we haven't made progress. The question I have in my mind is, have we learned anything? Have these new organizations, and I'm not taking a dip at you guys who are forming organizations of engineers and this and that, but have you learned anything? Zwanele will know what I'm talking about. Have you learned anything? Unfortunately, political parties can only do so much. When Afriforum says we are opposing this bill, transformation bill, how many of you go and challenge Afriforum? All of you are waiting for the political parties to do it, and they will never do it. And the reason why they will not do it is not because they don't want to. It's because we operate, or political parties operate, in a contested space. Okay. And I know this is what the DP is probably going to be talking about. I'm sorry. So I just thought I should touch on some of these things. But you see, when I was at Fort Hare, many years ago, we had a mass meeting. And somebody said, you know, we must go and ban that Coca-Cola truck when it comes here. And some clever students stood up and said, you know what? You cannot buy what is not sold. And everybody was confused. And the point he was making was simple. We don't have to worry about banning the truck if we are not going to buy the Coca-Cola product. So as students, let's agree that we are not going to buy that product. So the truck will not come because the products will still be in the shelf. Now, why am I saying this? And by the way, I want to say congratulations to the leadership of the EFF for the work they've done and keeping the organization the way they've done. But in my analysis, there's something else that has kept the EFF the way it is, coherent, strong, and growing. It's their position on race. The fact that we have all black people here. We're all black and African. But wait until you have non-Africans coming here. You'll see what will happen to the EFF. It will begin to disintegrate. This is what's happening in the ANC. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying this because this is what is happening in South Africa. The reason why the state is being broken into pieces and you don't have transformation is because if we have transformation of the economy and we have money then we can control politics. And for us not to control politics, you frustrate economic transformation. Now, I'm sorry, I'm just throwing this. Now, oh, by the way, hey, shit. You know, anyway, very quickly on the points that I wanted to make. By the way, I don't think NHI can work. I don't think so. We can have any discussion some other day. I don't think it can work. You know, so but I think what we must do is, and just quickly, my leader, just to indulge you on the points I was making. When the EFF leadership was being attacked on VBS, how many of us stood up? And I'll tell you why we needed to stand up. It was because the reason for killing, by the way, VBS was killed by the Reserve Bank. And nobody was held accountable at the Reserve Bank. And we're happy to keep quiet. But they were killing it because they want to kill the idea of banks that compete with this. Anyway, so very quickly, I think as a suggestion on the land question, I'm going to the land question now. We have agreed on expropriation without compensation, but we must work on the logistics on how to implement it. Some of us have got ideas on how that should be done. The rest we'll talk some other time. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to talk.
Yes.